your boy Nixie coming back with another bullseye of a video here today on the channel. So I wanted to ask y'all a quick question. Are analog model plugins messing up your mixes? This is an idea that I, started to think about a little bit because I actually had recently acquired a little bit of hardware. I got my first set of little hardware and I was feeling really, really good. I had grabbed me a Neve 542 as well as a West Audio Array, which is a bus compressor. So I was really feeling myself. I had my little order coming in and everything like that. I said, okay, my mix is about to take another step. They about to sound pro and mainstream, and I was really feeling good. But after having the gear for a couple months, about 3 months, I ended up selling that bit. Boom, went to the Guitar Center, just said, y'all boy, just take it. Because it was a situation where analog hardware is very interesting. Analog model plugins as well. I feel like maybe they don't always are appropriate for our type of music, which is modern, mainstream, R&B, rap type of music where you want that clarity and that grit, right? For the first time ever, I had mixes start bouncing back. People saying, oh, I don't like how the mix sound, fix this, fix that. I don't know, something sound off. It was honestly a nightmare for me. And it really started to make me appreciate how I have access to these plugins. And when I go into a session on Pro Tools, I open it up and everything sounds good. I know that back in the day, them engineers say they used to have, a problem with gear. It was noisy, it would give a little bit of hiss. It would, do certain things. It would start acting up some certain days. But I want to let y'all know my experience with gear. So with our type of music on my channel, it's always about hip hop, hip hop music, that nice mainstream type of stuff that we like. And I feel like with analog modeled plugins, a lot of the times, analog hardware is actually softening your transients. We love them hard hitting drums. Bah, 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 bah. We love that hard hitting kick, that hard hitting 808, that bass, that knock the speakers off. We love those hard hitting transients, that hardness, like, ooh, that's mean right there. We love our transients, right? So I think that in making music, a lot of the times these analog model plugins are actually softening the transients. For example, when you use like a tape plugin like J37, a lot of tape plugins soften transients. And that's what tape is known for. It's known for giving a smooth and then a top end and all that. It'll start to make the kick and the 808 sound a little bit of loose booty, kind of making it be like a pair of jeans that don't fit. It's not tight. It don't feel right. It feel like a pair of shoes that's one size above, right? So I noticed that about my kick and my 808, that a lot of things started getting really soft. And I wanted to ask y'all these questions because I know some people, they love to use like an NLS channel on every single, track and stuff like that because they think they're getting a little bit of that analog summing, right? They think that they're getting a little bit of that glue. But sometimes a lot of those plugins, what they will do is they'll also introduce stuff like noise, right? And actually, when you start putting it on track after track after track, what will happen is, now you start having all this noise start piling up in your mix, and now it's kind of distracting you from the clarity of the vocal, from the clarity of the melody, from the how loud the drums are banging. So I wanted to ask y'all this question. Do you think analog model plugins are ruining your mixes? A lot of these analog model plugins, they introducing a bump at like 50 hertz, 60 hertz. And that's why I like to use, plugins like the UAD legacy plugins, because I still get the same benefits of like the EQ shape of a Pultec, or how quick an 1176 is to like grab onto a vocal without getting the cons of all that noise and all that extra distortion, all that over seasoning. It's like if you eating a Thanksgiving plate and all of a sudden, the auntie, she trying to do too much. She trying to wow everybody with the seasoning and she throw in too much seasoning. It's very possible to overcook your mix. And that's why I feel like, me personally, that, analog plugins, a lot of the analog model plugins, I use them in a strategic way. I use it as like a point of reference. I might have two sounds. I want one to sound new, and I want the other one to sound like a dusty old Salvation Army type of shirt. So what I'll do to give a point of reference to the listener, letting them know, yo, this is what clarity is and this is what dirt is, I'll use the analog model plugin on one thing to make it sound worse. So that's actually what I kind of use analog model plugins for, is to make things sound worse, because they don't all sound bad, but they have a situation where they're lo-fying the instruments. They're lo-fiing your vocals. They're rolling off that top. You're losing clarity. They're adding mud. They're adding more mid-range, you know? And depending on where that analog plugin is adding that noise in that mid-range, it might just start making things become a little bit mucky, a little bit swampy, a little bit nasty. So I wanted to make this video today to ask y'all this question. Do you think analog model plugins are ruining your mixes? You know, plugins like NLS channel, what they'll actually do, they'll start messing with your panning. They'll start making one side more wobbly than the other because that's what gear does. And from my experience of having analog hardware, I think a lot of the people on YouTube, they are straight up fucking liars because they always say some shit like, oh, you know, it's okay when you get the gear, it's gonna hold value. The gear gonna hold value. You put it right back up on reverb and you get right what you paid for it, which is not true because most people can't afford analog hardware, bruh. There's only a small amount of people that could even buy it. Like I said, I spent like $6,000-7,000 and I really make music like that. So of course I could take a hit like that and spend that type of money. But y'all, I'm looking out for y'all and I'm letting y'all know ahead of time. You know, don't fall for the hype, all this Neve 1073 and CL1B. You have everything that you need to make a hit record. As long as you got you a little Apollo Twin, you got you a nice laptop, you got you a good microphone, this a UAD Sphere into a Apollo Twin, you good. You got everything you need. That's the thing about life. Sometimes the answer to your problems is right under your nose. Sometimes you don't got to be out there looking at, oh, I'm finna get this hardware chain and all that, because I done already went through it. I lost a couple bands, bruh. You know, like really, I lost damn near what I could have put that down on a Benz or a car or something like that. You feel me? But for me, I think that it was worth it to lose, you know, to lose that much on the analog hardware because I could bring that information to y'all so I could help y'all save money. If I could even just help y'all not fall into the trap, the affiliate marketing that these YouTubers are trying to say, oh yeah, you need this piece of hardware, you need this analog model plugin, you need that. Think about it. If you really do need something, right? You don't need to convince somebody that it's worth it. For example, my nigga, when it comes to breathing, do you need somebody to convince you that you need to, you don't need nobody to convince you to breathe because you already know if you don't breathe, you're gonna die because breathing is important. So if analog plugins and analog gear is so important, why do these people on YouTube have to try so hard to convince us that, oh, well, this is what you need and oh my, it's just not the same. For somebody who doesn't know how to mix, I think that it makes a drastic difference for you. I'm not gonna lie. Because you don't know how to mix. So, you know what I mean? You're gonna go from having an F on the test to having a C. But if you know how to mix and you actually take the time to learn and you already a A student, I mean, you can only get to an A+. That's only a few percentage points. And do you want to pay a few thousand for a few percentage points? That don't make sense to me, bro. That don't make sense to me. So I think analog model plugins are outdated a lot of times because you have plugins like Soothe. You have plugins like from IZOTOPE, you know, they have their transient designer, Neutron. You have like an R-Comp. People like to use 1176 because it's a fast compressor, but you got a plugin like R-Comp that is just as fast, you feel me? And, you know, it doesn't give you all that extra distortion that 1176 will give you. So you need to understand what these analog model plugins are doing from the input to how it's compressing. Is it aggressive? Is it adding noise? Is it adding distortion? Is it adding a little bit of muck, you know, from that tube is trying to emulate? I feel like these plugin companies, they just be like, oh shit, we can make this into a plugin too. Let's call this the 1178 or the analog model transformer. They find a little shitty ass box in their uncle's basement, right, with a little transformer or a little transistor, and they model it and say, oh my God, they use this way back in the day. Your uncle and your grandpa, they record. I always feel like they're trying to force it down our throats, you know? And, you know, think about it. A lot of the analog model plugins, they remind me of something like this. You know, look at this thing. Look at this thing. When's the last time you heard somebody say, hey buddy, let's listen to a jam, let's listen to a tune on the new radio? No, because nowadays we got Apple Music. You know, if you want to go listen to a new song, you go on Apple Music. You feel me? Because that's where the funk's at, Apple Music. You go to Spotify because it's easier for you to do that. Technology is supposed to make your life easier. So if you got more technology, why are you doing more? people back in the day, they ain't have to remember to spread a SSL console across their whole mix because it was already in front of them. You got to do more work. Technology is supposed to make your life easier. Technology really is at a point right now, dog, where it's like when you go to T-Mobile, think about iPhones too. When you go, like 10 years ago, an iPhone used to be able to just be like, bruh, like you needed the iPhone. You feel me? Because it had the FaceTime and all that. But nowadays, if you go to T-Mobile, the cheapest Android on the shelf that costs $50, it could do everything. And that's where technology is at right now. You got to think about it. That little $50 Android, it could do everything. It could FaceTime, it could text, it could call, it could download apps, it got games on it. It could do so much that them phones from back in the day couldn't do. And that's what I'm trying to say. You got plugins now that can do way more than what analog hardware could do, way more than what analog model plugins could do. Of course, I still like to use the analog model plugins too. I'm just not gonna force myself to use a Neve 1073 into a CL1B because in the 1980s they used that because that is kind of like outdated, you know what I mean? I still love the sound. I don't hate the sound. I'm just saying, ask yourself, why are you using these analog model plugins? Are you using it because it's genuinely making it sound better, or is it because of the hype train? You mean, do you want to ride the hype train? Because that hype train is leading down to a very dangerous place where you just end up spending all your money on these plugins that you ain't ever gonna use. And these YouTubers, they just gonna get all the money and laugh at you. Got them. So this is pretty much the end of my video here today. I just want to say thanks a lot for being a great part of my YouTube family. Drop it down below. Why do you use analog model plugins? Do you know what these analog model plugins are doing to your mixes? Are they ruining your mixes? Try to use less of them. Are you feeling like you're getting a cleaner sound with more transients, with more dynamics? Let me know down below. Thanks a lot. Just want to say thanks a lot for being a great part of my YouTube family. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Appreciate y'all now. Peace.